Welcome to the Messy City Podcast, where we talk about creating the kinds of always changing, wonderfully messy cities and towns that we humans clearly love. We'll talk with those people trying to revive them or create them anew, whether they be designers, developers, builders, planners, or just anyone interested in the conversation. Thanks so much for listening. Welcome back to the Messy City Podcast. This is Kevin Klinkenberg. I don't recommend that everybody have a podcast. I don't think we need 8 billion podcasts in the world. It's already challenging enough as it is keeping up. But one of the cool things about having a podcast is getting to meet people who you don't know and learn all about their stories. And related to that is like people will come out of the blue and suggest guests to you. And so that happens from time to time for me. And today is a case where I had a listener who suggested a guest to me and said, "Hey, you got to talk to these people in Mineral Wells, Texas, who are doing amazing stuff. And I think they'd be a great fit for the show." So we were able to connect and reach out. And today I have Macy Nix Alexander on the show. Macy, thank you for joining.
Yes, I'm excited to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you. I think, first of all, the question everybody wants to know is, where the heck is Mineral Wells, Texas?
Everyone knows us for the Baker Hotel, the haunted Baker Hotel. We are 45 minutes west of Fort Worth, kind of off of I-20. If you were going from Fort Worth, you'd hit Weatherford, Mineral Wells, Possum Kingdom Lake. So we're everybody's road to Possum Kingdom Lake.
Interesting. Does Possum Kingdom Lake have anything to do with that song, or was it the band Possum Kingdom in the 90s?
The Toadies. The Toadies.
The Toadies. I'm sorry, it was the Toadies. Yeah.
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 Yes, it,
But
it does refer to that. So
that
Mineral Wells
song
is
was
kind of
about
funny.
that.
Yeah, it's about PK Lake. Yeah.
Wow.
The
All right.
Toadies are, I guess, from like Fort Worth. There's a concert at Billy Bob's every year for them. And so I think they used to all hang out at PK Lake during the summers. So
Oh, that's hilarious. See,
yeah.
this is cool. I get to learn something new all the time. So how big is Mineral Wells?
Probably, man, I don't know, 14 to 19,000 probably now. It's not too big. We used to have a military base here. So we have Fort Walters. It's closed down right now. It's just some people come and do training on it, but it's not an active military base anymore, and it's out towards Weatherford. And it used to house, I mean, thousands and thousands of soldiers, and that's where Mineral Wells was kind of grown on. We were grown on the water. People came here for the water back in the days. That's when the Baker was built, and then
Hmm.
with the Fort Walters, then we had all the military training. That Mineral Wells is where they trained pilots that were flying helicopters.
Hmm.
So we were the helicopter training base out here. We still have some of the heliports and everything. My husband's family actually came to Mineral Wells because his grandpa got stationed here and he fell in love with it and stayed. So
Interesting.
known for the water, had the military base. When the military base shut down, it cut our population into, I don't know, like a fifth, and every single person, all the military left, and our town became a ghost town. Um, but it's kind of weird. We're the crossroads of America. So where 281 and 180 meet is right. I'm sitting about 100 feet from it. It's right beside
Hmm.
me. And that would be from Canada, the road that goes from Canada to Mexico, and then from California all the way across. The only two
Wow.
crossroads of America meet right in the center of Mineral Wells,
Wow.
which since then they've made I-20, which loops around Mineral Wells essentially. But this was the town that you had to go through. So
Interesting. So is it sort of like the water? Is it sort of like a hot springs type of thing?
Yeah, so in Hot Springs, Arkansas, the Arlington, that hotel is a sister hotel to the Baker that we have here. The Arlington is still open, where the
Oh,
Baker's not.
yeah.
And we were founded on our water. They say there's an old tale about a lady who was crazy and she came and drank from the well and all of a sudden was cured and not crazy anymore. So that's where we got the name Crazy Water from. So
Interesting.
people, Judy Garland, a lot of famous people came here for the water back in the day, stay at the hotel, take baths in the mineral baths and stuff like that. So
Interesting. So I've been to Hot Springs, Arkansas, which is
yeah,
amazing. It's such a cool place, and I think it when I was there, it shocked me at like how big of a historic area there was, and how
yeah.
big the various bathhouses and all the hotels and everything were. So I looked at a couple pictures really quickly ahead of time. It looked like some of the old hotels you have there are also enormous structures, and it must have been a real popular place when vacationing for that sort of thing was really popular.
Yes, it was very, very popular. Like I said, we're the sister town to Hot Springs. So take Hot Springs and then take every single person out of it, make it a ghost town, and you got Mineral Wells. Like we have the downtown historical buildings. We have, I mean, the downtown historical hotel. We actually just finished remodeling another boutique hotel down
Mhm.
here in downtown, and it will soon get the hot springs. The family I married into actually owns Crazy Water, so
Hmm.
kind of funny. They are the ones that have the wells right now and that own the Crazy Water Company, which is bottled for HEB. So if you know anything about HEB, they
Yeah,
created
yeah.
a new Topo Chico, essentially a
Uh-huh.
sparkling water, and that is Mineral Wells' sparkling water, all bottled here
Interesting.
in Mineral Wells. So
Oh, that's very cool. So so you grew up there then?
I did. I was born here, raised here, uh, went to high school here, and then I said I'm gonna get the heck out of here, and I went to Baylor, where I
Mhm.
studied entrepreneurship, marketing, management, and I was working. I was very inspired by Chip and Joanna Gaines. They were there. They were
Mhm.
redoing the silos at that point. They still had a little bitty store in the middle of nowhere, and they were about to do their big silo project. And I got to be a little part of that. And then my dad called me and said, "We have a spot for you back in Mineral Wells." I said, "Ah, ha, ha, ha. Not going back to the little town." And I came back, for a visit and haven't left. So.
So what was it that like attracted you to then being part of doing renovations, and what was it about Chip and Joanna Gaines' stuff that kind of caught your eye?
Just Waco, Mineral Wells reminds me a lot of Waco. Waco had the historical properties that were being restored. I mean, they were coming in. Chip and Joe. They came
Mhm.
in with a with a bang. They went from nothing to everything very very quickly, and I got to see them at the bottom, and so seeing them transform that just has really I guess inspired me. I used to bring my parents down there to show them all the new stuff that was going on, and that was back. I mean, 2017, before any of this really. I mean, we just had rental homes at that point. We had a few rental homes, and that's all they were doing. And we watched that
Mhm.
happen, and watched how the economy was changing. And my dad looked at it and was like, I think we can do that. And it kind
Mhm.
of just started, and I was really excited that he brought me back to be a part of it, and that he trusted me um, to be a part of this vision. So it's been
Mhm.
fun.
So your dad or your mom and dad kind of started this journey out with deciding to try to renovate buildings in Mineral Wells.
Yeah, so they got married in 1986. My mom was, I don't know, 17. My dad was 18 or 19. They started Nix Lawn Care, which is what everybody kind of knows them for, and they went around
Hmm.
mowing lawns. My mom would mow, my dad would weed eat. And then they moved into sprinkler systems. And at the time, I think they had one little rent house. And their big thing is they would live off of the sprinkler company and the lawn care, and then all the stuff they made from the rental would be invested back into itself. So then at that point they were, able to get a couple more rental houses. And my dad always says, live below your means. If you get a pay raise,
Mhm.
that doesn't mean your lifestyle gets a pay raise. And
Yeah.
so they started building, and right now we have over 500 residential properties here in Mineral Wells, in
Wow.
this little bitty town. So I
Uh-huh.
actually sat this morning with the tax protest officer, and it's really fun until you get to do taxes on all of those. And so 500 500 properties that they have acquired, and that they have continued living below their means to continue acquiring them. And they a lot of them acquired when back when the economy was a lot easier to acquire properties. I mean, right now, y'all know the housing market. It's um, we're not buying quite as much, but I was actually looking at one today. It's kind of interesting. We bought it in 2002 for $11,000, a little property,
Mm,
and we have
mm.
done little to no remodel. And right now, it's valued at like $186,000.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it's, I mean, crazy. It's been a huge, huge roller coaster.
Yeah. So when you came on board, about how many properties then did the family own?
We probably had about 200. I've been
Okay.
here for 4 years. Um,
Right.
we buy a lot which we acquired a bunch of them back. What was it, 2010, 11, when the market went down and everything was selling really cheap. That's when we bought a
Mhm.
majority of ours. Since then, it's mainly foreclosures, tax sales, people just knowing we buy stuff, calling us saying, "Hey, here's a property we'll sell you before it hits the market for cheap," trying to get it done quick, cash for it. So um yeah.
So one thing curious about as you kind of talk about this, you paint a picture of the town as kind of this town that became a ghost town, has this
Mm-hmm.
really cool historic past, but with the fort closing and the tourism really dried up significantly. So why stay? What was the thinking with like your parents and now you, the next generation? What was the thinking about why stay and buy properties and invest in the town? Why not pick up and move somewhere else and do the same thing?
No town has a better history. Mineral Wells will come back. It's one of those towns. It has to. It's like Hot Springs, Arkansas. It's like it's going to be a destination resort, and it was a vision that was seen years ago, even before the Baker was gonna potentially open. Um, Mineral Wells is just one of those towns. It's not going to drive and be a ghost town. You're at the crossroads of America. You're 15 minutes from I-20. You're right by Mineral Wells and Weatherford. As Fort Worth starts to expand, they're coming our way, which is
Hmm.
crazy to think. I mean, 500 rental properties and I have 10 vacant. It's
Wow.
it's um, rental rates out here are same as Weatherford, which is kind of crazy to think that this little town can rent a two-bedroom house for 1,400, $1,500 a month.
Hmm.
But when people leave the big city, we are where they want to come. The accessibility that we have. Again, 45 minutes from Fort Worth, you got Possum Kingdom Lake, best lake in America. I know your followers will like that one. It is 15 minutes to the 20 minutes to the other direction of us. We have an amazing state park here in Mineral Wells with the best rock climbing. We have just our economy here. There's no way it can fail. It's such a solid economy. It's somewhere people want to be. So
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously, there's a lot of love for the place with you and your family, and which is cool. I mean, I think that. What's interesting to me is I've had other people on the podcast, and there are certainly a lot of listeners who know of or live in places that suffered from decline.
Yeah,
And it's I think the allure of leaving permanently and moving to someplace that is really booming and successful is, that's easy. Um,
right,
but sometimes you have deep roots to a place and a love and a passion for it, and that makes you want to stay. So I mean, that obviously comes through with what you're saying. The next obvious thing is like, then question or line of questioning is like, how do you make a business, out of doing all that kind of work? How do you make a living? So it sounds like you've kind of helped uh, with your rental properties. You found demand that maybe
right,
you didn't think was there originally.
right. Yeah, I mean, the rental market is it's never going to die. You can't make more land. It's never
Yeah.
having land, having the assets of the properties. And I guess something that you said that I don't know how to best explain it, but you were saying it's easier to pick up and move somewhere else.
Hmm.
My our thought is, why move somewhere else when we're the start of it? You have
Yeah.
all these assets while it's cheap, while nobody wants to be here. You see the passion, you buy up every single thing, you change it, you make it great, make the town. It's almost the start of making this town more desirable, is taking all those properties that are abandoned, that are falling down to pieces, redoing them, and creating. I fully believe we've probably created the market that we've lived in. The reason we can rent things
Yeah.
at 1,400 to 1,500 dollars a month is because we have bought it all, created the demand for it. We've created the market, and that's what it is here now because of that. Now, if we would have walked away, yeah, the market probably would be a lot cheaper here to rent, a lot cheaper here to buy. But we saw that opportunity and took it early, early, early on. Um,
That's terrific.
we also, Mineral Wells, it has, we have a lot of, we have Cantex, we have industries out here. So where that base closed, they actually are opening up industries that are employing people. So now you have people coming to Mineral Wells to work that need houses. A ton of our tenants work at our local industries. AMR, we remodel ambulances here in Mineral Wells. Most of
Hmm.
the ambulances you see come through Mineral Wells. Cantex, most of the pipes, the PVC pipes, come from right here in Mineral Wells. So we have huge, huge industries here on the outskirts of town that employ tons of people who will need a place
Yeah.
to live. When the baker opens, that's going to employ hundreds of people. They'll need a place to live. So,
So let's talk about the baker and some of the other projects, because then you transitioned also into doing some bigger remodels, the looking at the old hotels
right,
and everything. How did that come about? How did you get into the business of then looking at these enormous old properties?
hotels. The Crazy Water Hotel is going to be the first big, big thing that we did, and that wasn't us. My dad got together a group of, I think it's 88 people who love this town, a passion project, if you must. They might not all make their money back. They're not sure, but 88 people who genuinely just love Mineral Wells and want to see it revived. And so they all came in, they put their money together, and they restored what's called the Crazy Water Hotel. It's 7 floors. It's got a ballroom up top, a rooftop balcony. Um, I mean, they have artists come and perform on Thursday nights on the rooftop, and there's boutiques, there's a brewery, there's a restaurant from a hotel in Dallas, Austin, that came to Mineral Wells and now has a restaurant in the bottom of the Crazy Water Hotel. It's going to have the bathhouses. It has 6 floors of boutique hotel rooms that each have their own
Hmm.
kitchenettes in them, and it's staying full. I actually lived there and got booted out because they needed more hotel rooms. I was like, hey, so it's people are coming, and so that happened, and now it's like, okay, we have people coming here. Let's give them stuff to do. So it's like, all right. So coffee and cocktails. We opened up a bar that does coffee in the mornings, cocktails in the evenings, and like little brunch and stuff like that throughout the day. We opened up something called the Market at 76067, which is 130 vendors all in one massive building. But the unique thing is, like, you're not sitting at your booth selling your stuff. You just pay a commission, put your stuff in this building. They set it all out on tables, and then they have the staff, they run the people, you just drop off your inventory. So
Wow.
it's 130 local vendors. You can go in there, and the table was built by my next door neighbor, and the clay pottery on top was built by my other next door neighbor. The paintings on the wall are for sale from local vendors, and it gives all your local artistries, your local people who want to create boutiques, people who want to create stuff, it gives them a hub to start. They can start with their inventory
Uh-huh.
in there, and once they see that their sales are going to do great, they know that they can be successful in a brick and mortar. Now they can take their stuff and go to a brick and mortar. So it's almost like the
That's
the
brilliant.
starter
Yeah.
kit for for local artistry. Um, from
Well,
that, we've actually had 3 or 4 different places downtown open up because they started in the Market, realized that they could be successful with their own brick and mortar, move their stuff over to the brick and mortar, and have become successful because of it. Um, we recently remodeled a really big building. And again, all this is trying to come up with stuff to do. Like, people are going to come here, and then what are they going to do when they're here? So, all of these projects are us trying to create stuff to do when people come. We opened up something called the Seaman Building recently, and it's an old car. Uh, they sold cars there, and so it's
uh-huh.
an old car dealership, and now it is called the Outfitters. It has all your hunting gear, your fishing gear, kayaks, Lululemon stuff. It has on clouds. It has anything that you would normally go to Fort Worth to the big shopping stores and buy. You can now do here in Mineral Wells. It has a
Mm.
meat market with all different kinds of meats and cheeses and artistry breads here in town. And these are people coming through going to PK Lake who can now stop here and have stuff to do for the weekend. So it's it's booming. It's coming back. It will come back. And
I mean, that's
the
all.
big
That,
question.
go ahead. Go ahead.
You go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like going back to, I mean, it's all incredible. It's just,
Yeah.
that's an amazing story. If I went back to the beginning for the original hotel where you had 88 people come in
Yeah.
and invest with you to do it, do you have a sense of like how much did you have to raise? How much money did that cost to make that project happen?
If I'd have to just take a guess on that one. I mean, I know at least 10 million. I would really
Yeah.
am not 100% sure. I know that they all pitched in some money. There were different tiers. You could invest $100,000 or and be this tier. You could invest 20,000 and be this tier. I was the lower tier, when I invested. Um, but I do know that they went back to the higher tier and need a little bit of more money because they're going to go back through now and create a spa, like almost like a
Mm.
4 season spa, and a speakeasy and stuff like that. So it's still almost in the making, but I encourage everyone to go to that hotel. It's crazy to think 88 people are so passionate about this town to come together and put money in that they're not sure if they're going to get it back or when they're going to get it back, and create something as beautiful as that hotel. And it is done to historical value. It was, if there was a piece of ceiling that fell, that piece of ceiling went right back where it fell from. I mean, every single thing was back to historical value. And there's a Louis Vuitton store in there now. Like, it is nuts what they have done in the last 5 years with that building.
That's
Um,
amazing. So when you talked about like
so,
then after that you created coffee and cocktails or and some of these other things, when you say that was like you and your family like created
but
those
yeah,
businesses, or how did that work?
uh, that was my mom and dad. I can't take credit for them.
Yeah.
My dad retired, 10 years
Uh-huh.
ago, and that means you work more than you ever worked before. Apparently, they have created 8 businesses in the last 5 years, strictly to bring, since 2018. The first one opened in 2018. And that is to give people stuff to do here. And each of those businesses is so uniquely different. And they're trying to get anybody who comes here will have something to do, whether it be older people, whether it be kids, whether it be women, men. Like, there's a hunting store, there's a shoe store, there's a children's store, there's a bar,
Mm.
there's a brewery. And those were all created by my parents, and they had some business partners in some of them. And again, just to give people stuff to do whenever they're here. I do have some interesting numbers that I would like to
Yeah,
throw out if you don't mind.
please
So,
do.
since 2018, we've recruited 71 new tourist related businesses in downtown and over 30 non-tourist related. Non-tourist related would be like a photography studio, a law firm, stuff like that.
Hmm.
But 71 tourist related businesses in downtown since 2018. We've facilitated over $65 million worth of investments in downtown, whether that be us investing or us helping people get into a building to remodel to invest into our downtown. And then we have $150 million planned in our 5-year pipeline that's going to go to downtown. We have over 300 employees employed in our downtown district, and downtown would be, our not this whole town, just our little historical
Hmm.
downtown strip.
Yeah.
Kind of like in Hot Springs, you just got that little historical downtown. Then you have your big franchises and everything else down the way. So just
Right.
in our little downtown strip, over 300 employees, 75 of which are with our current company in our businesses. We subcontract about 100 to 150 people per year. Most of those, I would say 90% are local. So when we're remodeling a house, even if our house isn't even in downtown, if we're anywhere in Mineral Wells remodeling a house, we're using our local flooring company. We're using our local drywall company, our local painter, uh, our local lumber company. We're not going to Home Depot to get our supplies. We're going to our local Furs Lumber, our local Ace Hardware, and putting that company back in our town. I know it costs a little bit more, but that's what you do in a small town.
Hmm.
You shop local, um, and it's just what you do. I don't know
Yeah.
how to explain
Well,
that.
and that money
It
stays in town. So
it,
yeah.
it stays in your economy, and those people, those local businesses that you're supporting, you're making sure that they don't get thrown out by your big hardware store that isn't going to reinvest money in your town. These are people who are supporting your local schools whenever they have fundraisers. These are the people that are helping with that. So um, we've done over $200,000 worth of local charities in the last 5 years, and yeah, over 500 residential units along with 125 commercial units, and we have over 2,100 acres of property and land holdings.
Wow.
Um, so over $750 million in investments in mineral wells in the surrounding areas, and over 2 million square feet of properties developed. So it's I encourage this. Mineral Wells is your little town. Everybody, get your hotel and come stay here. Come see what we've done. It's give me like 3 more years and it'll be even crazier. But what can be done since 2018 to now, and then what will be done in the next 3 years is just it's Chip and Joanna. It's something you don't see often.
Yeah. So what tell me about what is next on that 3-year horizon? What are the projects that you're working on or you think you'll start working on?
Okay, so the biggest one, the one everyone's gonna question about, I'm surprised you don't know. Do you know what the Baker Hotel is?
I just saw some pictures when I quickly was
Some
Googling
pictures of it.
stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so the Baker Hotel, it's been closed for years, and it's been bought, and then somebody tried to remodel it and had to sell it because they didn't have enough money. It was bought, somebody stripped every single thing in it, sold it because they didn't have enough money, and it's been bought and it's been sold, and everybody gets their hopes really high, and then it's like, oh, never mind, we got to sell it. Um, we, along with 7 partners, bought it a couple years ago, and it hit some road bumps. It was right before COVID, and it hit road bump. It hit road bump, and we can finally say, everybody asks, where's it at? When's it going to be done? The USD loan was secured and funding has been allocated. It'll close. The funding will close in early 2025, and construction will start immediately. So in the next, I would say, 3 to 5 years, this massive hotel
Hmm.
is going to be brought back to life, historically remodeled, brought back to historical value. It has an amazing TikTok that has
Hmm.
millions of followers on it, and they can see we've been doing remodel on it for the last 3 years, just very slowly. But once this funding gets completely closed in early 2025, it's going to start in full force. You'll see everything there. Windows have already been restored, roof has been restored, walls are basically to being able to paint. But it's coming, and when that happens, you now have a 13-story hotel that is going to bring thousands and thousands of tourists to Mineral Wells. But the thing is, we have to have things for the tourists to do.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. And
that's
so,
the goal.
what other things then are you working on that you think can enhance, the tourism aspect that people might like to do?
Um, Mainly it's downtown. We have people calling every day wanting to know what can we do downtown to help. But another thing is everyone's in the holding pattern. Everyone wants to see the Baker open before they
Hmm.
invest their money
Hmm.
in downtown. You don't want to put it all down there and something not happen, and now you're sitting here with a business and not enough people to support it. Um, but you have to come early to the game, because if that hotel gets built and they start to open and there's not stuff downtown, everybody comes here and they're like, all right, well, we got these couple businesses to go to. That'll take us a couple hours. Like, what do we do then? So
Hmm.
right now, it's just encouraging people, getting the funding and showing people that this is going to happen, and then getting the businesses built downtown so that when people do come, our town is ready and can support it. Our streets can support it. Our the structure of our town can support that many tourists. Just making sure that we are adequately prepared for that is just the next 3 year goal. We do have a park coming downtown pretty soon. We Willis Winters, who helped build a lot of the parks in Dallas and Fort Worth, maybe Sundance Square, incredible guy, has retired and become a part of the Love for Mineral Wells, and he just created a dog park, with our leadership class, which is a group of, I don't know, 30 people who got together and raised enough money to create this really fancy, awesome dog park that opens next week. Um, we have the Crazy Water Company, bottling company, who is partnered with HEB, and they're bringing in tons and tons of revenue and doing remodel and getting a name brought to here. We have just downtown businesses and are booming, which is helping our rental market, because we're now you need to house people. So it's the next 3 to 5 years in this town are going to be ones that people won't forget. So
Yeah, it sounds like a pretty incredible transformation. How do the rest of the people in the town kind of react to all this activity after these buildings being vacant for so long?
yeah, um, a lot of people are so excited to see their town coming back to life. Anybody that loves Mineral Wells, they're seeing their town come back to life. They're seeing. We just had our Crazy Water Festival last week, and the amount of people that were in this town not from Mineral Wells just to be here. You drive down on a Saturday and there's people walking the streets. Your business owners, your people who love this town and see the vision are so excited. Of course, there's going to be some naysayers. There's going to be the people whose property taxes went up and they're not very happy about that. They don't want to see it grow as much, but the majority of the people are so excited to see this little town come to life and to see the potential that this town has.
Hmm.
Like I said, it's the infrastructure. The town in general is just in such a great location, and We have so many assets. We have 15, more than 15 wedding venues within like a 5-ish mile radius from here. I mean,
Wow.
incredible wedding venues. Part of the vision is to be the wedding destination of Texas, kind of like a Fredericksburg almost, where
Hmm.
you go there for bachelorette parties and weddings, and the night before the weddings, the baker will have 3 venues in itself. I believe the Crazy Water Hotel has 2 separate venues that can house big events. You got Rest Yourself River Ranch. You have Clark Gardens. I mean, we have tons and tons of venues and capabilities to bring in people. So
Has what you guys have done have people in other towns uh, not nearby taken notice and started to
oh
look at, well,
yeah,
maybe we can do that in our town?
yeah. Again, Mineral Wells is just so unique. The location of it being the crossroads of America. We're in a perfect place. Do you know where Weatherford is? Weatherford,
No, I don't.
Texas.
No,
Are you from Texas?
no, I'm not.
Oh,
I'm in
okay.
Kansas. I'm in
Um,
Kansas City. So
so funny story about that. My parents actually they live in Wichita,
okay.
and about 2016, 17, right before we started doing this, my dad got his land up there and his ranch, and my mom and dad were about to take all their money and pull it out of Mineral Wells, and they were headed to Kansas.
Hmm.
They were gonna go do their little town of Wichita, and this was gonna Wichita was gonna be the Mineral Wells, and or Augusta, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
They were right outside in Augusta, and my dad couldn't leave. He said no, like Mineral Wells is my town. That's where I grew up. That's where my family's at. And he's like, I'm. This is it. This is where I'm coming. So we're very close with Kansas. But yeah, it's that's funny. It's a good little town, and you should make your way down here sometime to a great little weekend getaway.
Well, we
So
do get down to Dallas Fort Worth, or I have been
yeah,
down there several times, so it sounds like it's a very easy jog
yeah.
over from the Metroplex. Um, so have people in some other towns like reached out to you and said, "How did you do what you're doing?" And we want to do the same thing.
They have the difference with other little towns is their locations don't have
Yeah.
the accessibility that we have here. The state park, the fossil park, the lake nearby. But we have a ton of people from those towns moving their businesses here. We
Hmm.
actually sat through a city council meeting last night of a business in Jacksboro, which is 30 minutes north of us, bringing their business here to Mineral Wells. Midland, Odessa area. We're getting a lot of
Hmm.
people from out that way coming towards Mineral Wells. We just opened up a Western wear store, similar to like a boot barn, but a locally owned one. They came from Midland, Odessa, and they just opened up their business here right downtown a couple months ago. So tons of traffic. Um, who maybe are in towns that aren't booming as much and maybe doesn't have this potential, and they see the potential that Mineral Wells has, so they're bringing them here.
Yeah.
So
That's interesting. It's kind of like it's got this like a new lease on life, and a lot
yeah,
of kind of historic tourist towns have gone through that, like different waves.
right.
Yeah, yeah, that's very cool. Well, it sounds like a really cool and interesting place. Definitely have to make my way down there at some point and take a visit. Um,
Yeah.
what advice, if any, would you give to other people who are thinking about getting into doing some of this stuff, and it might even think about when you started getting interested to see like what the Gaineses did in Waco, and now what you are doing at still a young age here in Mineral Wells. Like what things might you say to other people who say, I don't know, I want to do something like that in my town?
I would say don't be afraid to start the trend. Don't don't sit around and wait for everyone else to do it first. I think that it's okay to be the early on person. It's okay to start it, um, and let people follow you. Uh, I think the best advice. as a young person than I've ever got, and I'm sure a lot of your followers are more rental home, probably, right? Like remodeling rental homes and stuff like that.
All sorts of,
Um,
but yeah, a lot of rental income, no doubt.
I would say don't live. My dad always said, do not live above your means. If you get a pay raise, your life doesn't get a pay raise. And that's the best model that I've ever seen here. And I think that why my parents have been so successful in this and investing back into your town. Nobody supports you more than your town. And the more you can give back to your town, the more they're going to be here for you. So those are those are things that we are very passionate about, and even if it means spending a little bit more to shop locally, that's just something that we're very passionate about here because those are the people who we need their support in the end. So
Hmm. Yeah. Well, Macy, it's a really cool story. It's very inspiring. And I think there's probably a lot of people in places like all over the country that, uh, they have a passion for their own community and would like to do more, to really invest in it and help it out. And it's great to hear stories like this of people who are, taking it upon themselves to just make it happen. We don't have enough of that, and so it's really cool to see it. And I think like one of the things that I see is that you know if you play your cards right, like your family has done, that you can pick up, especially in a lot of smaller communities, you can pick up properties really inexpensively. You can stick with them and create a market and do the things exactly what you talked about. That there is opportunity, even though you have some unique qualities in mineral wells. There are plenty of other towns that have attractive qualities as well.
being early to the game is
Yeah,
is what kind of set us apart. In 1986 is when they started buying these properties. So I don't think I'm not an expert, but I don't think the price of real estate and land is going to go down because you can't make more of it. So
yeah,
it, that is something that you'll never lose by investing in. So
yeah, yeah. All right. Well, hey, I really appreciate that. This has been great to get to know you, and I'll have to drop you a line if I'm ever headed your way.
that'd be great.
All right. Thanks so much for coming on the show, Macy. I appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you.